Okay, so welcome to today's Los Blancos podcast. Today we will be discussing the Las Palmas game in full, where we won 2-1 in the Gran Canarias, and it was a dodgy game from Real Madrid once again. It's been a sequence of dodgy games, but in the end, 3 points. Over to you, Girona. Girona played today against Celta Vigo, first game of the day, and we'll be discussing that Las Palmas game in the fall because it was a game where we had to rotate. We've got a big run of games, which we'll be talking about later on. We've got a big run of games coming up, which is going to require all of our attention because it's going to be big for the whole season because this is, as you can see, the poorest part of Real Madrid's season in terms of performance, but we're still getting the wins, and that's the most important thing. So how important do you think this win is against Las Palmas?
Yeah, I saw a report saying that after the game that we won last week, the next 4 games would be so crucial to our title win, and I couldn't have agreed more because even though it's not a direct title opponents, it's still points that way you can get 12 points out of 12 because it's not difficult opponents like top 3 teams in La Liga. It's good teams who have been playing good football like Las Palmas, and then Getafe is always a tough team, but we play Getafe next week. That's why I mentioned them. So if you can win these games, the games that we failed to win in past seasons, these are the games that cost us big time in the league. Not really the games against Barcelona or Atletico Madrid. It's these games, against these opponents that's costed us big time. So hopefully we can continue on this path, okay with those 1-goal wins, because of course let's not forget that we don't have a starting striker. Let's put it that way, that we don't have a starting striker. We have a good striker in Joselu. Rodrigo and Vinicius and Diaz are decent, great attackers, but they're not a striker. So I'm okay with surviving the season, and if we survive the season with 1-goal wins, I'm okay with that.
Yeah, and talking about Las Palmas, coming into this game, they're very well in form, and they were playing good football. Like you said, I think this season so far has been a really good one for Las Palmas, for a team which doesn't really have a lot of top division experience, other than Sandro Ramirez, Munir, players like that. They don't really have a lot of top division experience in La Liga, and I thought so far this season they're 8th and they've been playing good football. Their goalkeeper Alvaro Valles has been really good this season. He's been the main player for them, top player, and I think after that performance against us, I think he played quite well. I think he could be expecting a big move in the summer to a very big side. So he's obviously one of the good players. Alberto Molero's a young talent. He's looking good, and they've found use for players like I said with Munir and Sandro Ramirez. So I mean, coming into this game, how much of a threat did you expect Las Palmas to be? Because so far this season they haven't exactly scored the most goals. They've been tight defensively, which is what's kept them so high up in the league. But in terms of attacking wise, they haven't really scored that many. So what sort of a challenge did you expect Las Palmas to be coming into this game?
Yeah, of course. They have the second best offensive record in La Liga. They're also the team that's conceded the least goals in the first half, I think, in the league as well. I think I saw that stat. I'm not too sure if it's the league or if it's the top 5 leagues, but they have conceded the least amount of goals in the first half. They like to play on the ball, and of course, they are quite dangerous playing balls into the channels and down the width of the pitch. So I expected it to be a tough game, but I expected us to take care of business, if I'm being honest. If we had lost this game or dropped points, it would have been disappointing because we are Madrid and we are the favourites. Of course, we were without Bellingham, and I think we missed him a bit, which is a bit weird because when Bellingham doesn't play behind Diaz, normally starts in well for him and replaces him quite effectively. But Diaz had a quiet game today, so I think without Bellingham, without Diaz showing the form that he showed throughout the season, we weren't at our best, if I'm being honest.
Yeah, I mean, it was a quiet start to the game. First half, we weren't poor exactly, but we just really didn't get going. It was just slow. It wasn't like there was no intensity in the first half, and I thought, second half when they scored, obviously, they scored the first one from Munoz. I think let's talk about that goal because it stems from the same problem that's been over the last few weeks, which has been a Nacho mistake. Nacho has been quite poor across this season, and I think we didn't really talk about it too much in the first half of the season because Nacho had been a bit shaky, but didn't really matter in the grand scheme of things because we'd been solid. We had continued to pick up the results. With the red cards that Nacho's got in the past few games, I think he's been really shaky, really shaky, and I think to be totally honest, he's been a liability, and I think this has been a period of time where we've started really questioning Nacho whether he has dropped off because last summer I think if you recall he had that offer from Inter Milan, which I think looking back on it now he probably should have accepted because at this current moment in time it looks like he's struggling for Real Madrid, and I think physically he doesn't look right, and on the ball he doesn't look right. I think technically, he's making so many of these poor passes. He's been an absolute liability over the last few games, and it's good that Militao's been, his recovery's been accelerated so fast, so far ahead of his schedule. He was scheduled to be in April originally. Now it's looking like he could be available in February, so at the start of February. So that's obviously a huge one, but it's been poor from Nacho, and I've expected more from the guy because he's never let us down before. But it's been really shaky. He's caused a lot of the mistakes leading to goal in the last few weeks, and if it continues, I have to say that probably Tchouameni does deserve to play at centre back ahead of him. Which is the main problem with that is you don't want Tchouameni to drop out of defensive midfield. But if this continues, I don't know what we can do because we've got tough games coming up. We've got Atletico Madrid and Girona coming up, and Leipzig in the Champions League. These games, we're coming up against teams that are going to punish you. You got Griezmann and Morata, you got Savio and Dovbyk for Girona, and then you got Openda and Xavi Simons for Leipzig. There's a lot of attacking dynamite in all of these teams that could really cause problems. So yeah, Nacho's gonna have to step up, and he's been poor over the last few weeks, and he's lucky it hasn't hurt us in the league. But in Copa del Rey, obviously it did hurt us. We got knocked out. He needs to step up. What are your thoughts on Nacho's performance?
Yeah, I was listening to a podcast from yesterday, and they were debating if Nacho has lost a step, maybe if he has lost some speed, some agility. And I realized that he's 34 years of age, because they were mentioning that he was one of the fastest players in the squad. Now he does seem a bit slower and easier to beat. His covering isn't as strong as it was. And then I realized that he is 34 years of age, which is shocking because we've always seen Nacho as this young. He came in as this young player, this young backup, and of course he never quite became a starter. I think that's why we are quite shocked that both him and Vasquez are that old, because they were never starters for the club. They were always backup players, and normally when a player is in the squad for that long, they normally become starters, and then you will understand that they're getting older. But because they were always like in the back, you're not realizing that they're getting older and they're dropping off. So I think it's just that with Nacho, he's getting older. He isn't young anymore to cover quickly or to recover quickly or to get to the ball quicker than the young La Liga attackers. I think it's maybe a similar case to Marcelo when Marcelo was dropping off. I think, of course, age would normally do that to a player, because in the past seasons when Nacho got the opportunity to start due to injuries, he was always solid. And we always trusted him, but I think this is the first time since the 16-17 season. This is the first time when I'm saying that I don't quite trust him 100%. It's the first time I'm saying that, because of the 16-17 season. I remember when Pepe and Varane was injured. Nacho came in and played big Champions League matches on our journey to the Champions League final. And we played against Bayern, against a top striker, Lewandowski, played against Atletico Madrid in those big matches when we won. And since then, I trusted him a lot. You know, he played Clásicos. He played against Liverpool in the Champions League final in 2018. He played against Liverpool on the park at Militao at Anfield and got a clean sheet, and also at the Di Stefano, and we won 3-1. And you could have said, yeah, Nacho, we can trust Nacho in those big matches, but now it seems like he's lost a step. But if he hasn't, yes, he's a bit slower than he was, but if he hasn't lost a step, he's just not showing any form, or he maybe hasn't adjusted his game to accommodate for the fact that he's lost a bit of a step. And I think maybe Tchouameni could be the better option, so I'm not too sure if maybe Ancelotti might try Tchouameni for one of these games, and that's why I think we need a centre back in the market. That's why I think we needed a farmer in the market, because he's younger and he can become a nice player who can play these La Liga matches, in my opinion. You know, maybe you don't count on Marin for those top Champions League nights, but you can count on him for those La Liga matches, because he's one of the standout players in this team in La Liga. And if you have depth like these players, like Rafa Marin, then you wouldn't be in these situations. You know, it's not going to put a dent in your books. But for now, I believe if there's no signings, I think Tchouameni should be given the opportunity to start. You know, the next game, you know, at centre back. You know, of course, it's not his best position, or it's not the position he wants to play, but it's what needs to be done for the next game to see how he does. Because, of course, Nacho should be the starter, but sometimes you have to make those difficult choices if he's not in form.
Yeah, I think Ancelotti, I think he won't be afraid to make that difficult choice if it's needed. I don't think it's something that he won't do. So let's hope Nacho's form does pick up, because it is necessary for the squad to have that. But you know, moving on to a more positive note, Vinicius Junior was excellent. I thought in this game, I thought Vini really stepped up in the absence of Jude Bellingham, which is what we want to see. Obviously, it's always what we want to see when, you know, even with Jude Bellingham, you want to see Vini playing at his absolute best, because he is an entertainer. And I thought in this game, you know, everything good that Real Madrid did, I thought not Jude Bellingham, I'm too used to saying that, Vinicius Junior was at the heart of it. I thought, you know, he was a real spark, and I thought, you know, every time he got the ball, he was direct, and you know, he caused problems for Las Palmas. With the goal that he scored, I thought it was really good from him, and Camavinga obviously with the ball in. But I thought, you know, him dragging out the defender and then attacking the space in behind, which he had just created, I thought that was really excellent, and I thought it was really smart from Vini. And obviously the touch and finish was really good as well. And I thought, you know, Vini overall, I think, you know, it's just about keeping that consistency, because, you know, so far this season it's been a lot of inconsistency from Vinicius Junior, because, you know, last week, you know, with the Barcelona and the Supercopa game, and then following that we obviously had the Copa del Rey game against Atletico Madrid, where Vinicius put his best performance in a Real Madrid shirt next to his worst performance in a Real Madrid shirt. But we've also had other performances, you know, the other fixture against Barcelona so far this season, as well as the game against against Valencia, where he was absolutely magnificent in that game. And I just think, you know, you need Vinicius to continue this form. I think he was fantastic, and I think if he continues that, you're talking about, you know, Real Madrid genuinely competing. I don't think Real Madrid can compete for a Champions League title if Vinicius Junior is not on form. If Vini plays like he can do, which we all know he can do, then I think that we're talking about, you know, Real Madrid being serious contenders for the Champions League. But you know, so far this season, you know, we talked about Vini having a bad season so far. He's had 15 goal contributions, which, you know, for other players, that's a good season. And, you know, that just shows, even in a bad season, which Vini's having, he can still get us goals and assists. So that was good. And then just on another note, you know, Vini, at the end of the match was picture taking photos with the Las Palmas fans, which was nice to see as well. You know, especially with all the hate he's been getting from other Spanish stadiums. I think it was nice to see the love he was getting from the Las Palmas supporters. So yeah, that was nice at the end. So what are your thoughts with the Vini performance?
Yeah, he's one of the best players in the world, but then sometimes he makes bad choices. Sometimes, whether if it's where he can pass it to a teammate, or whether sometimes when he's in front of the goal, I think it was a kind of a game where he could have taken more chances. He was just before the goal. He had that opportunity where he could have maybe did the exact same thing, the exact same finish, and he tried to lob the goalkeeper, and it was a poor effort. Then I think 2 minutes later he had the exact same chance, but maybe a bit more difficult chance, and he smashed it with his left foot. And maybe you're thinking to yourself, maybe why didn't he do that in the other chance? But it happens. He's still a young player. Let's not forget that he has taken steps forward. He's always a player that I'm going to support. Of course, I always wish that he can make better decisions, but on occasions. But then there are times when he makes wonderful decisions and he does wonderful things, So hopefully he keeps getting better. He keeps going on that upward trajectory. He had a difficult season with injuries, but he's starting to pick up form. Then he has an off game. Then he's playing well. Then maybe he can have a quiet game. But the bigger picture is that, like you said, he's on 15 goal contributions and he's taken steps forward this season. So hopefully he can be at top form, meshing with Bellingham and Rodrigo for these 3 attackers to be in top form come March when we hit the business end. Well, not even March, but soon when we have big Champions League nights, because we can't just say that we're going to beat Leipzig because they're a big team. You never know what can happen. So they're not a walkover. So hopefully that we can be in top form by next month.
Yeah. Let's move on to his partner on the left-hand side, Fran Garcia. And, I think Fran Garcia, which last week obviously played against Almeria, and I thought he was absolutely excellent against Almeria. I thought he was fantastic. And behind Jude Bellingham, I thought he was maybe our best player in that game. Maybe Ibrahim as well. But I thought he was excellent last week, and this week I thought he continued his good form. I thought he was really, really nice, and I thought he was a perfect player for this game. I thought the energy that he brought down the left-hand side is just so refreshing to have that. Someone just to, if you can kick it forward and then chase after it, I think Fran Garcia is perfect for that. I think he just provides this thing that we don't have in the squad. We can put Camavinga there, we can put Mendy there. I just don't think it's the same as having Fran Garcia. And I think he's obviously started off poorly with Real Madrid. Obviously had some flashes of brilliance, but I thought so far this season I think he's had 5 assists this year so far, which is really good. I thought that that is really good numbers, and I think he just brings this energy, brings this something different which Real Madrid do not have, where you can just swing it into the box with him. You can let him. You can just kick it long and he would go chase after it and he will win the ball because he is really, really damn quick. I just think having that type of guy in the squad is so valuable for these games against Las Palmas, who defend really well. Having this almost another man in attack is just really, really helpful for us. And I think overall I'm really happy with Fran Garcia over the last few games. I think he can continue this form. Next game is Getafe. I think he should absolutely play that game against Getafe. I think it's a perfect game for him to play, where he can just attack and play really, really well. And then you obviously got games against Atletico, which he probably won't start, but I think he's had a good run over the last 2 games to put himself back into Carlos thinking for the first team, and I think he's been really, really good. So what are your thoughts on Fran Garcia?
Yeah, I'm aware that maybe you think he should start against Getafe, but maybe I'm sure he will go back to Mendy because of the rotations as well, and maybe he's Mendy to get back and continue playing well. And of course, Getafe is a tough physical team, so maybe Mendy might be the better choice in Ancelotti's eyes. I wouldn't argue if Mendy is a starter in that game, but this game was a good game for him, and I wouldn't say he had a bad season or difficult year, or he's had some ups and downs. He's looked a bit uncomfortable defensively on some occasions. And sometimes, a lot of times when he have the ball on and he overlaps with it on the left wing, his job normally is to send in a cross in the box, and sometimes at Madrid there isn't anyone in the box available unless it's Hustle sometimes that you can say is actually a threat, either Hustle or Bellingham, but let's be honest, he wasn't at his best on some matches, but he's been doing well. It's his first season at Madrid. Of course, he's a different left back to when Camavinga and he plays there, so the team's starting to get accustomed to him. Sometimes in Madrid, like if you look at what Marcelo would do, Marcelo would understand maybe he'd also have the skill on the left wing to know, okay, there's no one in the box. I can pause and maybe recycle possession because I have the skill to maybe flick the ball, pass to defenders, and then get back the ball a bit deeper, and then maybe wait before sending the ball into the box. I think that's what Marcelo would have done. He would sometimes hold and beat one player, then send the ball in the box when there's a target. I don't think Fran Coming has the same skill set, and that's okay because they're not the same player. Because a lot of times he maybe can send the ball into the box a bit too early. And maybe that's what he did at Barcelona, because that's how they played, the early crosses, when the ball is played through the channels. But of course at Madrid, it's not the same playing style. And I think that's why sometimes you send these balls into the box, but no one's there. But I think that's why sometimes you send those balls into the box and get many assists, like he has 5 this season, because he isn't scared to look the ball into the box. Last week, his ball into the box is the one that won us the penalty to get things going. And he got an assist as well, which was offside when he was a bit offside. He's a player who can do well when we're chasing the game, when we need a goal. And I'm really happy for him. I think he's a good backup for us to have, in my opinion. A solid backup. There's talk about Alphonso Davies. I think he could be a good backup for Alphonso Davies because they both run on the pitch well. And I think with Miguel, Miguel is really good, and Miguel is better because Miguel is having more consistency. And of course, Miguel also had the higher ceiling. I think we spoke about that. Garcia was better last season, but Miguel has the higher ceiling. Because Miguel had a few injury concerns as well. So hopefully Miguel can maybe just be in top form, where if we get Davies and he's not going to start, then we can just get some profit out of Miguel and he goes to a tough club. And I want the best for Miguel. I hope that he goes to Manchester City or Arsenal, where he can be a top left back. Because if he goes, let's not forget there's a spot open at Manchester City where he can become a starting left back. They have good players, but he can become a starting left back for that team, especially under Pep. And if they are interested in him, I would love to see him go there. And for me, if it's all about seeing players succeed, and I know that we're talking about Garcia, but I got sidetracked there. But nevertheless, Garcia is a good player to have in our squad. He's brings something different that we never had in years, even when Marcelo was there. He's quite similar to like Theo Hernandez in this first season at the club. A bit inexperienced. Maybe the occasion is sometimes too big for him, but the good news is that with a defensive left back in Mendy, we can utilize Garcia on occasions. I think Theo Hernandez never had that. Marcelo was always a top starter, even though with his defensive weakness. Theo Hernandez had the exact same problem, but now Garcia has defensive weakness, but he can attack better than Mendy. I think that gives him a better advantage over guys like Theo Hernandez.
Yeah, with Miguel, I think a good fit would possibly be Bayern Munich, or Liverpool would be a good fit, considering how Andrew Robertson's obviously dropped off a lot. But I think Fran Garcia, he's put himself back into the considerations of Carlo Ancelotti, which is important for him. especially with decision time coming on the left backs this summer probably. So yeah, I'm happy with Fran Garcia. The midfield, obviously Jude Bellingham was missing, and we obviously touched on Brahim Diaz being a bit quiet in this game, which is fine as long as he doesn't carry this on, which definitely was a trait of his time at AC Milan, where he was just he went quote missing for a period, and then obviously came back with a couple of good performances. Let's hope it was just a one-off and he comes back with a good performance next time out against Getafe, which he'll probably will play. He will play some part in that. But I think the thing was Ceballos played over Fede, which is good to see because Fede needed rest. He was definitely running out of gas over the last few games. He was just totally. He looked totally dead, in those games. And obviously it's Fede, and he'll continue running for you. But it was looking like it was taking a toll on him. And this is where we messed up last year, where we totally run Fede into the ground. We ran him into the ground, and he just completely was burnt up the whole of the second half of the season. And I just think we can't make that same mistake again. Rest Fede when you can. This was a good game to rest him in. I thought Ceballos, people get on Ceballos because obviously he took Arda Güler's place in this game, but I thought he was fine. I thought he was completely fine for this game. I thought he was energetic, which is what we needed in this game to replace Fede. And I think Dani Ceballos, he brings that quality on the ball. He was completely fine in my opinion. I think people get on his case for starting over Arda Güler, which we'll discuss in a second. But on the other side, Camavinga, I think Camavinga was fantastic. Obviously gave the assist for Vinicius Junior. He came off for the second goal, but I thought let's talk about Camavinga for a second, because I think he is becoming a victim of his own versatility. I thought you just forget sometimes how good he is actually in the centre of midfield. I thought he was just excellent at everything, every part of it. Just his ability in close areas, in close space, I think is just underrated. People don't see it as much as the Madrid fans do, but he was just excellent in the close space. And then other areas, obviously the ball retention is fantastic. He can see a pass anywhere, and obviously defensively, we all know how good he is defensively. And I just think the perfect example for this, I think, is Saul Niguez, where he was so versatile. I think he just lost his position. I think at this point in time, I just hope that eventually, if it is this summer where Toni Kroos leaves Real Madrid, I really, really hope that it is this summer that Camavinga can solidify a starting spot in the centre of midfield, because you don't want him to just be a victim of this versatility. So yeah, what are your thoughts on Ceballos and Camavinga?
I think that Camavinga is so good off the bench. He is so effective off the bench. I think that when you need a player to turn the game, if you have top midfielders that are doing well and you don't want to change any midfielders, you can put them on a left back. You can put him on for any one of the midfielders if they're not at their best, maybe except for Bellingham. If they're not at their best, and he can do a job there. I think it's not the same for the other players, if I'm being honest. I think Camavinga, what he does to close a game in the last 30 minutes, in the last 40 minutes, he doesn't need time to settle in on the pitch. You can bring him on at 5 minutes to go and he's going to do something. Whether it's a tackle, whether it's an interception, he's going to do something positive for your team. I think that's what you get from Camavinga. I think that's maybe why he sometimes doesn't start the best of matches, because of how good and how well he can impact the game, and sometimes you need that. That's why squad depth is important to guys like Brahim Diaz and Ceballos. They went off the bench last season. So hopefully Camavinga does start more games and Ceballos does play better, just like he did last season, because Dani Ceballos is a player that I like a lot. I've always said that, ever since he came to Madrid. To the fans, they're saying that he's not that good. If they would have seen him at Betis, they would have known why we signed him. He's finally getting an opportunity at the club, and I'm happy for that. Maybe he's not a starter, but he showed his will on last season. And of course, he can definitely continue to be a positive player off the bench and have more opportunities. He had an injury to start the season as well, but actually, if you trust him, a lot of those intelligent fans trust him as well. You need those players in the squad. He's a player who can impact the game. Ceballos, of course, he's not going to be a starter for the club, but he can definitely get more minutes and show what he can do. But back to Camavinga now. Ceballos and Gula played different positions, by the way. So one's more operating on the left hand side, one's on the other side. Well, they both come into the midfield. They don't occupy the same position. So that's one. And of course, Goulet had a long-term injury, so he's going to get his opportunity to end the season. That's why I hope we win this game so that he can start some of the Liga matches coming down to the final stretch if we are clear in the table. But Camavinga is definitely, in my opinion, one of the top midfielders in the world. But of course, we do have a lot of players in that position. But I do believe that he can start anyway in the midfield and not left back. So that's, of course, going to hinder him a bit, like you said with Saul Niguez. But I think his ceiling is higher than Saul. But I believe that sooner or later he's going to get the opportunity to start. He's better and in the right central midfield position, if I'm being honest. But that's Valverde's position. Unless you're playing like a 4-4-2 and Camavinga is playing alongside Toni Kroos or Tchouameni or something like that, and Valverde is like the right midfielder. There are many options, that's a good thing. But I'm sure within the next 2 years, Camavinga will be a walk-in and a shoe-in in the midfield. With Valverde being more the player utilised, more on the wings, more in midfield, I think Camavinga will be a starter soon, like a short starter.
Yeah, I'm hoping so. I'm really hoping so. Next couple of games. I mean, this is, like I said at the start, this is a tough run for Real Madrid at this current moment in time. We're obviously struggling for fitness. Players are going to come back soon, hopefully. And then, in the next couple of games, we've got difficult games coming up. On Thursday, we've got Getafe. Is it at home, I believe? I think it is at home.
Getafe is away. We played Getafe at home last season when Bellingham scored that winner. That was the
first Yeah, I recall.
I think it's Thursday as well. It's a makeup game for when we had Super Cup. So this is a makeup game. Those makeup games are always difficult. Especially because you consider the fact that sometimes players are tired, but we did test some players, and our best player this season didn't play this weekend, so he should be at 100% for that game. Yeah,
Getafe are always difficult. That's going to be a tough ask because we're going away to Getafe as well. That's going to be, we'll be lucky to get a 1-0 win out of that game. So let's go and win that game. And then obviously next week we're back to the derby. So next Sunday, I believe, we're going to Atleti. Atleti coming to the Bernabeu, where it's guaranteed to be a 1-1 draw, as it always is at the Bernabeu. Then the week after, we've got Girona, which is a real title showdown, that one. That's going to be a big game. It is at the Bernabeu. If you recall, last time we won 3-0 at Montelivi. So, that was a huge result, which we didn't realise back then, but we obviously realise now how big that 3-0 win was. And then after that, Champions League nights out back, we'll be heading to Leipzig for the first leg, and then the game after that will be Rayo Vallecano for Real Madrid. So a tough run coming up. This can be a big set of games for the season. We're gonna have to rest players. We're gonna have to rotate. We're gonna have to use the right guys. I think the Girona game is gonna be tough. Girona are gonna be looking for revenge, especially with the good run of form they've had recently. Hopefully they drop points today against Celta Vigo. I don't know when this video will be coming up. Maybe it'll go up after the Celta Vigo game, in which case you'll already know the result for that game. But in terms of Arda Güler, let's talk about him a little bit, because I think he should have started this game. I think if you are going to start him, I think he should have started this game, because there is no way you can start him in any of the next few games. Getafe are way too physical for that. I do not want to risk Arda Güler picking up an injury against Getafe. Atletico, you can't play him against Atletico in the derby, and then obviously title showdown. I don't think that's right for him. And then Champions League night. So I don't think that's the right game for him. And then obviously, I would probably play him against Rayo Vallecano. I think that is the next appropriate game. But yeah, what are your thoughts on Arda Güler? Where do you think he comes up next? Where do you think he plays next? Because I was fine with him not starting against Las Palmas. I think you should take your time with him because injuries have already been a problem. But the minutes are gonna have to come from somewhere, and I don't realistically see where they're gonna come from in the next few games. So, what are your thoughts on Arda Güler?
Yeah, I think he should have started at the last game, or maybe even this one, because the last game was a game where we needed more rotations. If I'm being honest, the last game was the one where the team was a bit more tired. I think that's when he should have gotten more minutes along with Diaz, in my opinion. But if I'm being real, I think that it's difficult for Ancelotti to give him minutes because in the last few games it's been games where we are chasing the game and we need something now. And of course he isn't like 100% certain how good they would adapt to those situations maybe. And of course he's trusting the players who can maybe turn the game. I think he was a bit unfortunate that we had to utilize some of our substitutions like immediately at halftime because of this how desperate the situation was. We had to make 3 substitutions with mostly defenders, Garcia coming on, Tchouameni coming on, playing as centre back. So I think that automatically used out 3 substitutions off the bench, and of course it was a bit difficult to have him on. This time he had opportunities to come on because there were no substitutions in the back line. So most of the substitutions were in midfield and attack, so he had the opportunity to play. So I guess there's a lot of factors that's going to hinder him from getting minutes. Similar to like Nico Paz, when you would hope that he's getting minutes and the game is so tight that Lucas Vazquez has to come on and to close out the game, situations like that. But with Goulet, there are a lot of players ahead of him now. He's had an interest start of the season, and so it's going to be a bit tough for him. If I'm being honest, he is good. He's excellent, like he showed in his first game, but it's going to take some time for Ancelotti to trust him in these top matches, if I'm being honest. But if you think Getafe next, then Atletico Madrid, he maybe might get minutes against Getafe off the bench if things are going smoothly. But Ancelotti actually let him play today when we are chasing the game, so you never know he's going to get minutes in the final 15 to 20 minutes. You never know, he can come on and maybe make a positive impact against Atletico Madrid. And then Girona, then Leipzig, we know he's not going to start any of those 3, and it's going to be difficult for him to come off the bench. But he can be an effective player off the bench, so hopefully he maybe gets minutes somewhere. But I don't think he would be upset if he doesn't play because he knows how tough the start of the season was. But he's going to get minutes to close the season. I'm positive about that, so it's not a situation that's concerning. I think the Modric situation is a bit more concerning because Modric, on his day, is still a top midfielder, one of the best in the world in my opinion, but he's not having the best of seasons. He's not having a 4 seasons, but he's not playing like Luka Modric. Because normally this is the time when Modric really steps up before the Champions League, and he's one of the best, and then he starts in those big nights and does well, but this season is a bit new for him. I think that's the one that's more concerning for me because I like Modric. I think that Modric, if he wants, he should stay, and he deserves another year in my opinion. It's not like he's been a bad player this year. A lot of individuals will say that Modric doesn't deserve another year because of his age, but it's the same thing I always say with Cristiano Ronaldo. If a young player scores that amount of goals, we're going to say, yeah, he's one of the best in the world. He deserves to be at a big club. So it's the same with Modric. If a young player is playing like Modric is this season, we'd be like, oh, he needs to be in the squad next year. If a Castilla player does that. So if an older player does it, then yeah, he should be in the squad, maybe not to start, but he definitely deserves his place in the squad. I think the same thing applies. He's not going to offer you the same thing, but I think if with a limited, with a lesser impact in the squad, then if he accepts, I have no issue with Modric being in the squad because he is a leader. The players actually love him. There's no issues with any squad player, so I think Modric should stay in the squad next season as well. I have already decided that. I think with Nacho as well, he's a good fourth choice centre back. But he's not a starter or a main backup, if I'm being honest. But it's the same with Modric. He's not a starter, maybe he's not the main backup because Camavinga seems to be that guy, but he can definitely be the guy after Camavinga, maybe after Ceballos, along with Ceballos. But with Goulet, if he picks up form, it's going to be a bit more difficult for Modric. I think Modric might want to play more, and if he leaves, I'm fine with that. If he leaves on his own accord, I don't want him to be forced out of the club, or we don't offer him a contract. We haven't had a player retire at this club in years since Zidane. Zidane was the last player to play his last game at Madrid. When was the last time you see a player play their final match of their career at Madrid? It was Zidane years ago. Not even Casillas, not Raúl, not Sergio Ramos, not Cristiano. It was Zidane since 2006. And I think Zidane's last game was with the French national team, but his last club game was with Madrid. I would love for Modric or Toni Kroos to play their final game with Madrid. That would be an honor because Modric isn't playing like how Marcelo was, how he chopped off really bad. It's not like that. So I would love to see Modric or Toni play the final game with Madrid, or even Nacho.
Yeah, 100% agreed. We haven't even talked about the main goal scorer, the guy who won us the game, but obviously it was the birthday boy, Aurelian Tchouameni, who won us the game. Only Carlo Ancelotti would bench the guy on his birthday, but big goal from him from the corner. He needs to score more goals, which I think he knows as well. But it was a big goal, really nice header, and I think scoring some goals from corners are going to be important for the rest of the season. So yeah, I think just shout out to Tchouameni for that. In terms of the Las Palmas game, I think that's it. But there is one more thing I would like to talk about, which is Xavi and FC Barcelona, because I know this is a Real Madrid podcast, but we do have to kind of talk about what is going on at Barcelona because they are our main rivals, and we do need to everything they do is relevant to us. So I mean, in terms of that, I think Xavi's obviously it hasn't been a great season for Barcelona, but I don't think you can blame it on Xavi at the end of the day. I think some of the blame obviously does go to him. I think he's made naive tactical decisions in some games, but defensively, I think Koundé's been a clown show centre back. I think Araujo's been really poor at points. Iñaki Peña yesterday, from what I saw from that guy, Iñaki Peña, it was comical. The guy would not go out, and us two sit here and complain about Kepa, not being dominant. Iñaki Peña is even more, quiet and even more like just small and just not ready to go for the ball, not aggressive in any way at all. And I just think Barcelona, I think, to be totally honest, Xavi, I think they've scapegoated Xavi, to be totally honest. I think they've just pushed Xavi under the bus, and next summer, whoever they bring in, I just don't think they can bring in a Jurgen Klopp or someone like that. I just don't think they have the ability to do so. Xavi's on a small wage because of the fact that he loves Barcelona. I don't think they can bring in anyone else because of that fact. I just think they're not going to be able to bring in Jurgen Klopp, because imagine how much Jurgen Klopp's going to demand. I think for me, if I was sporting director for Barcelona, I'd do everything to bring in Michel from Girona, but I don't know who they can bring in, to be totally honest. I don't think they've got the ability to bring in anyone at this current moment in time. I would look at Hansi Flick, I would look at Julian Nagelsmann if I was them, but it is a bad situation at Barcelona right now. Obviously, Xavi will continue until the end of the season, but right now, it was really funny watching that game because I turned the game off after 3-2 Barcelona. I thought, damn, Villarreal have just completely bottled that game. But they came back 1-5-3 and Xavi resigns at the end of the season. So yeah, that's obviously the big news from Barcelona. What are your thoughts on Xavi stepping down at the end of the season?
Yeah, I think he made the right choice in leaving because with Barcelona, there are many other issues outside of football, if I'm being honest, especially with the financial situation. We don't know who the squad is going to be. We don't know if they're even capable of signing Cancelo and Felix permanently, but it's a whole other issue outside of football. I didn't think he did a bad job. He stayed for 2 and 3/4 seasons, or maybe a little over 2.5, and he's won them a league. In a 5 seasons when they weren't supposed to win any league title, that should have been us winning all the titles, because we kind of battled it last season. But he won them a league, and he should be commended for that. But I think a lot of it, we can't say he's blameless, because he has a full squad of players. Some players are injured, yes, but he has a lot of squad depth. He has his attacking line is Lewandowski, Felix. He have Yamal, and he has Torres, and he has a lot of these top players. At Madrid, we barely have 4 attackers. He has a strong midfield. He started the season with Gavi, Pedri, Gundogan, Young. Then Tchouameni Lopez started doing well, so he has a lot of options. And he have Cancelo, and all of us thought that Cancelo would have been one of a player, the best right back in the league, that turned out to be Carvajal. So which is a bit funny, because Cancelo was a guy we wanted all along. But nevertheless, he has a lot of players. He got the signings he wanted. He has top players. So the fact that he's not maximizing them all, I don't know if we can say he's blameless. I don't know what the exact issue is, because sometimes they concede so many poor goals, and they have a strong defense. They were the best defense in the league last year. Of course, I'm not too sure why they're giving up so much. I guess sometimes you have those seasons like Ancelotti did last year, but Ancelotti won the Copa del Rey, and he was so close in the Champions League again. So I don't think you can say the same about Ancelotti, about Xavi. I think with Ancelotti last year, you could have bet on the fact that he's going to give you a performance in a big Champions League night, and you would be competing in the Champions League with Ancelotti no matter what. I think when the day Ancelotti should leave Madrid is the day he can no longer compete for the Champions League, because he's such a good cup manager that he can sometimes overlook the league performances, because in all the seasons at Madrid, he has taken us at least to a Champions League semi-final. But with Xavi, I don't think you can say that, because it's just not consistent enough, and he's only playing one way, in my opinion. When that one way doesn't work, then of course you have to get players to fulfill that, and not all the players are going to buy into that, and not all players is going to successfully portray what you want to do. So I think he's not versatile enough to adjust, and I think that's costing them the season.
Yeah, I mean, with the Athletic Bilbao win 4-2 in midweek, I think it was so funny seeing Ernesto Valverde dunking on my head after that game. I think he was unfairly sacked a couple of years ago, and I think it's rightful revenge from him. But in terms of Lewandowski, I think Lewandowski, he's absolutely pathetic, to be totally honest, because I just think as a leader of a young squad, and he is their best player, he is their main player, he is the guy you think of when you think of Barcelona at the current moment in time. As the leader of that squad, to be whining and moaning and crying about every week, oh, Xavi doesn't do this right, Xavi doesn't put me in the right positions. I think he has to do more. I think he was absolutely pathetic. He's been absolutely pathetic, and he's thrown Xavi under the bus, because I think he should have done better under any cost. And yet he's just sitting there soaking up wages and missing chances every week. So I think he's been pathetic this year. But I think last season, I think Barcelona didn't deserve to win La Liga, to be totally honest. I don't think they were the best team in Spain last year. I think that gave him a bit of a false sense of security, thinking they were the best team in La Liga this year. when in reality last year they got bailed out by Ter Stegen having probably the greatest goalkeeping season in a long time. You know, he was absolutely incredible last year, saving so many chances. Sorry?
I don't want to cut you off, but I agree with you with that. I don't want to cut you off, but I agree with you with that because when Barcelona won the league, I mentioned that they won the league, but what Madrid showed in the Copa del Rey match when they won 4, that we had the best team in Spain. It's just that we showed the title away to Barcelona. We gave them the title because of how poor it was in those games against Las Palmas on yesterday. We didn't win those games, and we gave them that title with our poor performances. In the first game, the first classic of the season, we walked over them 3-1. You know, we with Valverde, Benzema, and Nacho scoring in that match, but we gave them that title last year because how much we dreamt of after the World Cup and how much we failed to win those lesser La Liga matches. So, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, last year they kept these 1-0 wins, and I think for this season it's just them regressing to the mean. I think, to be totally honest, this is the not 4 goals every game, but I think they should have been conceding a lot more last year, and they got saved. They got saved so many times, and that won them the league. I think Real Madrid bottled it. I think they threw the towel in after February. I think February was when Real Madrid decided, you know what, league's over. Let's just go for the Champions League at this point, and then they just let Barcelona win that league title without any fuss. And I think, to be totally honest, it gave them this false sense of security. And I think they've been proven wrong this year. So I think whichever manager comes in next for Barcelona, I don't think they can do much better than Xavi did. Winning a league title, I think, is the absolute best they can do. Whether it's Jurgen Klopp, I don't think Klopp will take that job. He said he's running out of energy. The worst thing he can do is go to Barcelona at this point in time. So I think Klopp will take a year off. Apart from that, I don't think they'll be able to pull Pep out of Man City. I think Michel, I think he'll probably have a bit too much loyalty to Girona to go. And then apart from that, Arteta, he's probably going to cost too much. Hansi Flick, I don't know if Hansi Flick can really get a pressing team out of this Barcelona side. You know, Pedri, I can imagine Pedri's legs falling off after 5 minutes of pressing. So, I mean, apart from that, the manager options are pretty dry at the current moment in time, and I just don't know what they can get, to be totally honest. So, you know, Antonio Conte to FC Barcelona, question mark. But if you had told me 12 months ago after the Super Cup win for Barcelona, where they absolutely rolled us over, and that, you know, Giancarlo Ancelotti will outlive Xavi, I would have told you were a madman. But here we are, 12 months later, Xavi's stepping down at the end of the season. Carlo Ancelotti lives and is absolutely putting together one of the best managerial seasons. And yeah, here we are. So have you got anything else to say on Barcelona or Las Palmas or anything else?
No, I was just going to say that I guess last year it was supposed to be Xavi versus Xavi for the Clasico, you know, for the battle of the Euro and upcoming managers, but it seems like none of them is going to be at Madrid or Barcelona next year. And I'm just going to say something about Ancelotti, one last thing. Last year, if you would have asked me if we should have sacked him, I would have said no, but I guess I wanted him gone at some stages, and I changed my mind coming to the end of the season because I realized if you'd have asked us when Ancelotti came in 2021, if he had won all available titles, 6 titles within the first 2 seasons at the club, would we have wanted him to stay on for a final game? I would have said yes. And now, if you have asked him if after this after 3 seasons, if after 2.5 seasons he's on top of La Liga by 2 points and 10 points clear of Barcelona and into the Champions League knockout stages, if I had have asked him to stay another 2 years, if I would have extended this contract after the 3 years he have, let's say we go on to win La Liga. And if you just look at what we have won and forget how we played in some of these matches, would we have extended it for another 2 years after he won all those titles? Then I would have said yes again. You know, if you're just looking at it from a titles point of view and what he's won for the club, because Madrid normally looks at what is won at the end of the season, regardless of what happens. So I think that's how the team, that's how maybe players is looking at it. I think he's overlooking some of these poor performances for like the big nights and for whatever titles that he can walk in at the end of the season. So I think because he's winning all these titles and because he has another shot of winning another league, he has a clear chance of winning the league. I think if we lose the league from here, then I don't know what to say. Another deep go into the Champions League, then I think he stays 100% and he deserves another year, if I'll be honest.
Yeah. Just to close up, I think one last statement. Kike SZN is available, Barcelona. I think that's the right decision to make. But apart from that, that is it for today. In the description below, I will link a Lenny Yoro scouting report that I wrote. So if you want to go check that out, that will be in the link below. But in the description. And if you want to check out the Real Madrid Committee Instagram, it will be in the link below, also in the description, as well as the Real Madrid Committee Twitter. So, you know, the best fan page for Real Madrid fans on Instagram and on Twitter. So go drop them a follow on both. And yeah, that is it for today. I hope you guys enjoyed. Please like and subscribe, and I'll see you guys later. Bye bye.